Hey there and welcome back to Rimworld. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Rimworld Anomaly Sea Ice Challenge with the transhumanist Paragons of Pandroth. Last time we left off in a bit of a precarious situation. Thanks to the overall stress of living on the sea ice and a psychic droner, we had some trouble with mental breaks, and unfortunately those persisted even after that droner was taken care of. On top of it all, we learned that our mysterious drifter Nightshade is suffering from organ decay, and while we were already able to make her a bionic heart, she is still in mortal danger of losing her kidneys and lungs, so we need to find replacements ASAP. First of all, however, we are presented with the first quest of today. The Empire wants to send us 24 manhunting wolves, and I think we'll accept this shortly. It might give us the option to also accomplish something else with the help of those wolves. We'll have to see about that. Either way, we get ready and prepare for the manhunters by walling ourselves in. Worst case scenario, we'll have to wait them out for a day or two, so let's make sure we are nice and protected. Steel is thankfully coming in again at a rather regular pace, and so, with 22 hours until the animals actually arrive, we can already accept the quest in exchange for the marine helmet. We desperately need some protection, and this could be of interest for someone like Maniac or Ellie, who are already low-level psychcasters. With the final piece of wall then constructed, we are ready for the wolves to come in. Unfortunately though, Nightshade continues to suffer, this time catching the plague on top of her already dire situation. But luckily, Elpis has received a nice boost to his medical skill after last episode's heart transplant, which we actually have some lovely fan art for at the end of the video, and he even improves it further to level 7, which is enough to give good medical care to Nightshade here, hopefully enough to keep her alive, at least for now. With a bit more time on our hands until the animals arrive, Mechanitor Vulek then also fabricates another basic subcore, this one about to become another agri-hand, simply because one of them is not quite enough to take care of the entire hydroponic setup, but two should work nicely. With about 5 more hours to go, we then go to Vulek again, this time to summon some mechs, and these won't exactly be friendly. The Diabolus here needs to be defeated in order to level up our Mechanitor's mech controlling abilities, as doing so will make it drop a special control chip. Now, whether or not we'll use this with Vulek or someone else is still up in the air. Keep in mind that we can have a second Mechanitor thanks to another quest we received last time. Diabolus and company are then the first to arrive. The Diabolus are really the only threat in this group, with extremely tough armor and not one but several offensive weapons, the most dangerous of which the Hellsphere cannon, which I'm sure we'll get to witness shortly. A few moments later then, the wolves arrive, and we get incredibly lucky here with them picking the same spot as the mechs, who have in fact not attacked yet. They will patiently wait for us to make the first move. That first move is now being made by 24 angry wolves, who, had they spawned elsewhere, we would have needed to lure over to the mechs, likely with Vulek and his long jump ability. Either way, even a Diabolus will have a tough time dealing with that, I think. What you just saw, by the way, was in fact the Hellsphere cannon, a large, very powerful blast, but quite easy to get out of, as it takes a while to fully charge up. The Militars then quickly dispatched off. They are so flimsy that a single wolf can take them. The Diabolus, meanwhile, is a bit more sturdy. Also, it is capable of spraying fire in a large area around it, which can be devastating against attackers who are not fireproof, sending them all in a burning frenzy, which could quickly decimate even the strongest line of defense. Still, out on the sea ice, fire is hardly going to last forever, and so it is only a matter of time until the wolves finish off the mech, and just like that, we have defeated a Diabolus and can now recover its signal chip. The wolves, meanwhile, will come for us next, but we are walled in and can simply wait them out, which of course does not mean that we have to. A bit of shooting experience here certainly does not hurt. With the manhunters getting a bit too close for comfort, however, we retreat behind the safety of our walls. Quite a few of the wolves are already heavily injured and will most likely bleed out over the next few hours, after which we can then pick off what remains. In the meantime, our anomaly research continues and we unlock chronophagy, a psychic ritual to make a person younger, at the cost of the target aging rapidly. Perhaps something to give Maniac back his youth, although we would need to find a suitable candidate for the other part of the ritual first. Up next then, I made the small mistake of selecting philophagy as the next project, not noticing that it is indeed an advanced project, thus putting a halt to ghoul enhancements. We'll correct that shortly. First of all though, in the evening we dare venture beyond our walls again, taking out a few wolves in the process, and as we emerge from our northern exit, we get such a good drop on the animals that we can in fact eliminate every last one of them. Luckily, there are also a few corpses that we can still use, so we'll have more meat and wolf leather coming in. Our second agri-hand is also already gestating, and sometime later on the following morning, the last wolf has bled out, officially completing the quest and rewarding us with a prestige marine helmet. The remainder of the day, uneventful for the most part, Volek smelt a few ranged weapons that we will likely never use to cut down colony wealth, although we are firmly in the territory of moderate expectations at this point, and will likely remain there unless anything tragic happens. Jeannie Lauren spends the evening putting her level 19 crafting skill to good use and makes a few new shirts and pants, and with the day coming to a close, I think it's time for another ritual. Let's draw some animals. With Elpis now psychically hypersensitive, we have an almost 75% chance that these will not be manhunters. As the ritual is underway, we are also informed of pirates with a sun blocker, not actually a huge threat for us, as we grow our plants inside anyway and don't rely on our solar panels all that much. Nonetheless, I can't imagine that our colonists would like permanent darkness on top of living on the sea ice, so we'll add this to the growing list of places we need to visit soon. As you can see, there are quite a few others already on that list. As Nazim then begins another round of studying entities, we also quickly make sure that he focuses on the right projects. Ghoul enhancements will actually remain paused for the moment, as we pour all of our efforts into skip abduction next, a potential last resort measure if we can't find any other way of acquiring the organs necessary to save Nightshade. The ritual meanwhile a success, and so a few hours later, accompanied by a beautiful aurora, we have a small group of Muffalo wander in. Now, at this point in the series, I would actually love to tame a few of them, perhaps to replace our yaks, perhaps to add them. Unfortunately, we only have one person with a sufficiently high animal handling skill, and Nightshade here is currently in no state to tame anything. And so it is another hunting trip, unfortunate for these animals, but we can perform the ritual again every 10 days, so sooner or later I'd imagine we should find another opportunity. Another opportunity to shoot stuff, meanwhile, is here already. We are loading Ellie and Volek into a drop pod now, together with just enough chem fuel. Everything else they should find at the pirate base they are about to assault. And indeed, here we are. The sun blocker should be in one of those two buildings, protected by just 3 enemies. Conveniently enough, all of them with melee weapons, so this should not be too difficult. And there we go, 2 down, 1 fleeing, and one of the downed is also not dead yet, which opens up a rather interesting opportunity. While Ellie takes care of the sun blocker, our sanguiphage Volek puts the downed pirate back to bed, then uses coagulate on them to ensure they don't bleed out, and with the pirates conveniently stockpiling some medicine, we can now use that to extract a lung and a kidney from the pirate. And since they already lost 1 kidney in the fight, removing the second one also immediately kills them, but Nightshade's survival chances have just received a major boost. The sun blocker is then also destroyed, and with it dropping some steel and a component, We just need to disassemble the solar panel here to acquire the remaining materials for the trip back home. And so, some meat, a few meals, a lung and a kidney richer, we return back to our sea ice base. Once there, Vulek can also take our second Agrihand mech out of the gestator, and we'll name it Justin after patron supporter Justin Simon. And Justin will immediately go to work, helping AXMI-24 with the rice harvest. The two should make for a solid team to keep our food supply steady. Now at this point, I think it's time that we reform our ideology. We earned enough development points to do so last episode, and since we just completed an assault on an enemy base, our next meme is also very fitting, I think. Most of your comments on the last episode were in favor of Raider, so let's go with that. To begin with, we'll set the raiding precept to the less impactful respected, but still, this now implements a few changes. Our pawns will want to go raiding every 25 days at least, or they suffer mood penalties. Conversely, they receive mood bonuses and development points for participating in raids. One thing to note, the raiding precept also reduces global work speed by 8%, because why bother making stuff ourselves if we can simply take it from others? To go along with this main precept, we should now also modify a few others. We'll set executions to respected if guilty to avoid mood penalties like the one Vulek just suffered for killing the organ donor. On that note, we'll also set organ use to acceptable. It just feels like that makes sense for these folks. And most importantly, we can finally set corpses to don't care, eliminating a major source of unhappiness, especially on the sea ice where corpses just don't rot. On top of all that, we will also follow up on one more suggestion from the comments of the last episode, as we will now add a precept from the ritualist meme, Exalted Psychic Rituals. Interestingly, this does not actually require the meme, and now ties performing rituals to mood bonuses and penalties too, in addition to giving us a small bonus to ritual quality. Nothing game-changing really, but I feel like it fits and might allow us to actually forego the ritualist meme entirely, if we can simply enable its effects this way. This is only one part of it, but a good start that we could build upon. With the Raider meme, we have also unlocked the Gladiator Duel ritual. We already had this back with the Cult of Jinx. Now it's named the Arco Assault, and it will be used to recharge Psi Focus. It does, however, also require at least 2 prisoners. The very popular role of Shooting and Melee Specialist, meanwhile, we will not activate just yet. For now, we need our pawns for a wide variety of tasks, but down the line I could definitely see a few of them take those roles, especially once we get a few more mechs going. And there we go, this second iteration of the Paragons of Pandroth will now accompany us for the foreseeable future. Not making the change to this version prior to our attack on the pirate camp did cost Vulek dearly, however, as he still suffers a grand total of 51 points in mood penalties from stuff that we have now entirely eliminated. So he is probably going to break soon. In the meantime, we can thankfully take note of Nightshade having developed plague immunity, and she will now also receive her new lung and kidney, courtesy of Elpis, who improves his medical skill to level 8 in the process. This also ensures that Nightshade will survive, although she might still lose that other lung and kidney, provided that we don't find replacements, and the bionic heart is also not quite as efficient as a normal one, so there is room to improve still. Room to improve is also a fitting way to describe the current state of our base, so since we have collected a bit more steel, let's expand, beginning with our corpse and toxic waste storage, aka the ghoul room. Nobody else really wants to step in here. Nightshade then also back up on her feet for the first time in a few days, and as expected we have a mental break for Vulek, who has begun to hallucinate and will now run around the base in terror of everyone who looks at him the wrong way. Nonetheless, we keep making progress, constructing a 4th chem fuel generator to increase our power production and expanding our exterior wall to also include the monolith. Moments later, Nightshade, then showing all but gratitude for having her life saved, she snaps and decides to kill entities, which we of course put a stop to before she reaches our containment facilities. Immediately released afterwards, Nightshade's mood then remains problematic, but at least we keep our valuable captives alive. As we then put down some more tiles on our base, we are once again struck by disease, Fibrous mechanites have affected Vulek, Maniac, Ellie, and who else but Nightshade. This disease, a blessing and a curse, the additional pain definitely puts even more stress on our colonists, and this will last for some time, but the bonuses to movement and manipulation can be very useful. This also provides another opportunity for Elpis to train his medical skill, and even though the affected colonists will spend an increased amount of time in bed, work around the base still continues. Slaughtering the muffalos will give us plenty more meat to turn into chem fuel. The rice is already more than our pawns consume, and Lauren here can also finally disassemble the Diabolus for lots of steel and plasteel. By the way, with her most likely about to become the second Mechanitor, we are not going to use that signal chip on Vulek right away. I would first like to get a feel for who will take a more prominent role as Mechanitor going forward. With all mental breaks subsided then, we also try to help our people's mood by provoking the void again, as always with Elpis as the man for the job. Once again though, I am not exactly sure whether or not we'll get anything out of this. The last 2 times we did this, nothing happened, and it seems to be tied to colony wealth, so we might have to increase that even further before the more dangerous entities can spawn. The ritual is then quickly completed. All participants receive a small mood bonus as a result because of our new Exalted Rituals precept, but as I had expected, even many hours later, no entity has yet revealed itself. Instead, Randy smiles upon us with a psychic soothe. Our room flooring project is also finally complete, and so we take those good news as a sign to embark on a new adventure on the following day. While our 2 agri-hands plant a few rows of cotton to put us in a position to make flak vests, we load up our drop pods yet again, this time both of them, with Nazim, Ellie, Vulek and Lauren, and with chem fuel and components for the return trip. Unfortunately though, in light of yet another expedition, Ellie goes on a food binge and becomes unavailable, so we replace her with our tough ghoul Jay. In hindsight, a very good choice, as you will shortly see. We then sent the 4 of them out to that tribal village that called for help some time ago. The last time we investigated one of these calls, the entire base was overgrown by flesh, and that seems to be the case here too. So, let's poke around a little bit. We obviously also have some flesh beasts roaming around. Nothing crazy for now, but sadly that changes after just a few moments. Just like last time, an entire horde of these now emerges, which is why I'm very glad we brought Jay the Ghoul with us, who will now take quite the beating I imagine, but the most important part is keeping our colonists safe. I think over the course of the next few episodes we will also try to rush for marine armor, just because the current setup with parkas and flak vests is doing very little to actually protect our colonists. I am still holding out some hope for a sizable drop of Thrumbo fur down the line to make some more durable parkas from, but it will most likely be a lot more reliable to just go for recon and marine armor as soon as possible. Now, with the fight won and everyone but Jay unharmed, we can explore the base a bit more thoroughly. I will spare you all the tiny little details. What we do find are a few heated rooms for Jay to recover in, a flash sack containing another nerve spiker, another one revealing a shard, a second shard in sack number 3, and of course also the occasional flesh beast hidden in a room here and there. Vulek also suffers a mental break in the middle of the fight, the sad Wonder version here, unfortunately one that lasts for some time, so let's hope that he snaps out of it by the time we're ready to leave again. Apart from the aforementioned loot, the base is largely covered in tribal furniture and pemmican, nothing we really need. A 4th flesh sack eventually drops a bionic spine, probably one of the not-so-valuable replacement parts, but maybe we can find someone who can use it, if only for the transhumanist mood bonus. After killing off the last flesh beasts, we also earn our first raiding development point. Yes, this too counts as a successful raid, and with the map cleared, we can now focus on getting back home. And that's actually easier said than done, because this is a tribal base, and thus it has very little steel lying around. Luckily, you can rely on tribals always having a few gibbet cages, so we'll have to deconstruct those to obtain all the materials we need. Either way, for better or worse, we are in no rush, as Vulek is still wandering around in sadness, so let's make the most of the tribal's amenities. After all, they're not going to need them anytime soon. Back home, meanwhile, we keep expanding our base thanks to an influx of steel, and with Vulek eventually also snapping out of his mental break, we can then finally get started on constructing the pod launcher for the return trip. A few hours later, the first pod is ready to go, so let's send Vulek and Jay back home first, only for the two of them to destroy parts of the new room that Ellie just constructed. Using the last few bits of steel scavenged from an old ruin, Lauren then builds a second pod for Nazim and herself, and in the very early morning hours, the entire colony is back where they belong, richer by a few shards and a few other bits and pieces. To celebrate their return, and her survival I guess, Nightshade can then also use her transmute steel ability for the very first time, only for the stack here to be transformed into more or less useless twisted meat. This definitely not the outcome I was hoping for, but will have ample opportunities down the line, as the ability only has a very short cooldown. The two captured shards are then also immediately used to make another ritual beacon as well as a shard inhibitor for containment cell number 2, and with that, I would say we're in a good place to make the cut for today. I would like to leave you with one question, however. As you can see, Maniac here is very close to being able to inject his genes into someone else again. Those include deathless, size-sensitive and super-fast wound healing, so perhaps something for Elpis. Let me know what you think. Vulek is also not too far behind and could turn another pawn into a Sanguophage. And, well, we also have a few gene packs lying around, including one that makes a pawn very happy, potentially useful for those frequently suffering mental breaks. I think we are definitely going to see some developments here next time. Until then, I'll leave you with some fan art, this week submitted by the wonderful Tony Murchison. I teased this a bit before. It's another absolutely fantastic piece featuring our steadily improving young doctor, currently aged 11 and already a veteran at the operating table. So thank you very much for that, and if any of you guys would like to send something in, you know where to find me. Simply send me an email to pete@petecomplete.com and I'll make sure to feature your artwork in the very next episode. And that's it for today. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.